I have now reached the end of Season 4 of Wings. Today I'm discussing Season 4 episodes 20, 21 and 22. So as always there will be spoilers from now as I go through the episodes. I'm not going to go through absolutely everything that happens, but I will touch on the basic premises and share some thoughts. And the first one is Season 4 episode 20, Goodbye Old Friend. This is directed by Andy Ackerman. In fact, all of them are directed by Andy Ackerman. And we have two parts to the narrative here. One involves Helen and one involves Lowell. Helen is very sleepy. She gets a concussion and has to stay awake for 18 hours. And Joe and Brian very sweetly help her to try and stay awake. She does a brilliant possession impression. I have to say it was pretty great. And it just made me feel so sleepy. I feel like the only thing worse than being tired is being tired when you're not allowed to sleep. And it just made me feel sleepy. And I enjoyed it. It was a pretty decent part of the episode. The main focus is on Lowell and the fact that his mechanic friend, Weeb Gilroy, has died. And in the space of maybe 20-30 seconds, Lowell goes through all of the stages of grief. And then he's trying to write a eulogy. Faye offers some words of support, but her eulogy is not suitable to be used directly. And ultimately what Lowell does is so beautiful. He decides to do something that would actually mean a lot to Weeb. He fixed up his old plane. And he says, if only we had somebody to fly it. And Joe is in the room with him. And Joe says, let's take it out. And I genuinely thought that something would go wrong there. The plane would crash or something would happen. But no, they just let it be a really, really sweet moment. They just took the plane out. We don't get to see it, but they just go, and it was a really lovely moment. They didn't lean into the comedy or try and make any silly gags with it, which would have been fine, but they just let it be a really sweet, moving moment. We do get a bit of comedy, though, because just after that, Helen is lying down, finally able to go to sleep, and we hear the rumble of a plane outside. So they do tie together nicely, and I thought it was a really great episode. It could have been really heavy and emotional, but there was plenty of comedy in there. But as we see, for example, with the plane at the end, it was also really moving and really sweet. The highlight for me is when Lowell went through all stages of grief. It was a really great performance, so a really good episode. Then we come to another wedding. This is Season 4, Episode 21, another wedding. And Walter, the air traffic controller, played by Ralph Bruno, is getting married. And the bulk of the episode takes place at the wedding. And honestly, I didn't think it was that interesting. It was well enough written. We have little pockets of narratives focusing on each of the characters. Lowell's ex, Bunny, is there. And Joe and Brian are doing their own thing. Antonio wants to dance with somebody. The ink stain, the reveal of the ink stain was brilliant. And my favourite part is with Roy. And he was at the kids' table. And when he first realised that, absolutely brilliant. But my favourite bit is when he's doing a magic trick with the children, and one of the kids asks if they can do it again. And they genuinely really enjoyed his entertainment, and maybe Royce found his audience. And it was just really sweet. I really liked it. So the episode was okay. There's nothing wrong with it. Absolutely nothing wrong with it. I just didn't necessarily think it was the most fascinating. But it's fine. The costumes were gorgeous. We had some really beautiful costumes. The environment felt great. It felt like we were at a wedding reception. So it was nice, but not a personal favourite. And then we have the final episode of the season. Season 4, Episode 22, Date Package Number 7. And Brian convinces Alex to go on a date with him, a spontaneous date to Maine. And Alex says yes. She thought it was spontaneous, and she was telling Joe and Helen about it the next day, and it seemed like she had a really great time, and just all of these spontaneous things happened, and all of these romantic things. And Joe and Helen pointed out that it was planned, that Brian has these dates set up that he can just pretend are spontaneous as a way to try and woo somebody. And this is clearly what he did with Alex. Do I think Joe and Helen should have told Alex that? No, but at the same time, I don't think they thought it was a real date. I think they maybe thought Alex went as a pity date because Brian's relentlessly asking her out. So I don't think they should have told her, but I don't think they were taking the situation seriously. And Alex invites Brian over. It's clear she's up to something now that she has this information. And they're together for a couple of minutes. They're sitting down, and she dumps an ice bucket on him from the champagne. Absolutely brilliant. Very well executed. Very, very funny. And then it gets a little bit emotional because Brian goes to talk with Joe, and he's annoyed that they told Alex rather about his not spontaneous dates. And he said that this time it was different. Yes, it was something he's done many times, but this time he genuinely wanted it to be this perfect date. Is he being honest? I think so. I think he's being sincere with that. I think it's not just, I'll pretend it's a spontaneous date to get into this woman's bed. I think he genuinely wanted to make a really good impression on Alex. And I think Joe thinks this as well, because Joe ultimately went to talk with Alex. And the final scene, I think it was the final scene, the very end anyway, is quite telling. I think it was a really good moment because Alex said to Brian, you've got one shot. And this is the basketball. He has to get the basketball through the hoop and he can go out with her again. And he misses. He had his one shot and he missed it. So Alex gives him another shot and another shot and another shot. And it's very clear that actually maybe she's interested in him. A tiny part of me thought she was maybe doing it out of pity because he actually genuinely cares about her, and I think she is beginning to realise that he's not just interested in her for a one-night stand or whatever. But also part of me thinks at this point in the show that maybe actually she's interested as well. So I won't say any more than that, but I thought it was a really sweet way to end the fourth season. And we have a nice look at Brian's character here. Some very thought-provoking moments with Brian's character. Season 4 has been fantastic. We had a gorgeous, gorgeous cameo with Kirstie Alley. And in general, I've really enjoyed it. If I were to rank these three, I guess I'd go with Date Package number 7. And then Goodbye Old Friend. And then, of course, Another Wedding is right at the end there. Not terrible, but certainly the weakest of the three. Really enjoyed Season 4 of Wings and looking forward to watching Season 5. I don't remember a lot of Season 5. I have seen the show all of the way through before, but by that point, I'd binge-watched it so much. I had binge-watched it really heavily to the point where, certainly towards the end, my attention wasn't on it as much. I think I should have taken a break from it, but I didn't. I powered through. So there are bits that I maybe wasn't paying full attention to. I can't remember everything that happens, and I think that started around Season 5, so I don't fully remember every episode coming up, and I'm looking forward to rediscovering them, seeing what I remember, hopefully enjoying what I don't. And for now, I can confirm that Season 4, episodes 20, 21, and 22 are generally pretty brilliant and a great way to end Season 4 of Wings.